and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been a long-ass time. 1,855 days.
The GOAT's returned.
He has. When the Heart Part 5 dropped, I was the happiest man on earth. Beautiful track. A great single to introduce us to new Kendrick.
It was kind of like a total red herring. I feel like we've spent the last couple of years getting these little trickle downs of news about what the new Kendrick album was. And you remember hearing the news about it being like this rock album, taking influence from like 70s music. And we'd heard some leaks on YouTube back in the day. And this new album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, is not like that, like even in the slightest, I'd say.
Yeah, red herring is a great way to put it, because when I listened to The Heart Part 5, one of my immediate reactions was, I cannot wait to hear a full record with this on it. And like, if that's what we got, like, I would have been the happiest man on earth. But Kendrick likes to say fuck you a lot. He likes to take artistic direction in ways that like people aren't ready for. This to me like mirrors T-Pap in that way. I don't think the album itself is like comparable rating wise to that record, but I think the fact that isn't exactly what we expected to come out, that was coming out after Good Kid Mad City, was a complete tonal change. It went from Kendrick's signature sound that he did on Section 80 and all these like SoundCloud songs like Cartoons and all these singles that he had dropped, and Good Kid Mad City, where it was just like Compton rap with like modern flair, with a guy that had pretty insane bars, was one of the new kings of rap, up there with J. Cole and Drake immediately. Not that I think they deserve their spots, but you get the idea. Pop culture-wise, he's important. And then like in T-Pap, it's that complete departure. It's jazz influence. Kendrick's been on the record saying like he called Dr. Dre, said like he likes it, but I don't know if people are ready for it. And then Dre's like, that's how you know it's what's meant to be. Like, that's how you know it's the record to release. Like, you say fuck you to your fans, like people that expect shit. It was like complete departure from Good Kid Mad City, and like Dre was like littered throughout that record. To me, it feels like we're kind of in that same zone, and it's funny to watch. Like, I'm sure you've noticed it as well, the critical reception of the album. We listened to the record like not together, but
basically,
well, we listened to it together, but we were texting. We listened to it as soon as it dropped at midnight. We listened to it track by track on the same spots. And we got to text back and forth. And that first, like you said, the first viewing or listening experience was like that hype.
This was one of the best like first listen experiences that I've had in a while. I was sitting in my kitchen. I poured a can of IPA.
Which one? What's your brand of choice?
I think it was Goose Island.
Goose Island?
Yeah, it was a strong one. It was like a 9.5% beer. I was sitting there in my kitchen. The devil's lettuce may have been involved. Satan's sage, as they may call it. Dude, I was standing in the kitchen, like smiling and like dancing around, and like I have not had an experience with a record like that in so long. And I feel like my experience with the record has changed over the few days that it's been available.
The similar thing happened to me with like when the Heart Part 5 released. I think that track holds up. That's like a 10 out of 10 track. When we listened to it the first time, I did the same. I had a few alcoholic beverages. I believe Miller Lite was my drink of choice. It felt so special. Like, the only comparisons to listening experiences, like album releases the night of, Thursday at 11:59 going into midnight on Friday morning. That shit's super fun. I've done it with like many Brockhampton records. But this time, I had you with the same level of excitement that I did. He's such like this mythical beast in pop culture. Like, he speaks when he wants to speak. He lets like the art speak for itself and tries to keep himself like away from the limelight. After listening to Damn, I never returned to that record. I think you and I both share a similar sentiment. Like, I'm just not a huge fan of it.
I remember when it first came out, it did feel great in the moment. In April of 2017, that felt like a great record. Maybe not up to the par of T-Pab or something. I just feel like as time goes on, as the clock ticks, my relationship with that record grows more distant and distant as the days go by.
I think, and here's some of the things that I have the problem with when it comes to that record. You've mentioned before, and I share the same sentiment, and I'll echo it again. Damn's instrumentation feels so of the time it was made. it has such like this watered down feel for Kendrick. Every like Kendrick fan that I know of and people that I would like trust their opinions and consider them with respect, I'm pretty sure they have To Pimp a Butterfly at the top of the list.
For the most part, maybe
like Good Kid, Mad City.
I think more people view Good Kid, Mad City in a more favorable manner than they do T-Pab.
And I think it's more trendy, and it has, like, we've talked about it before, swimming pools, money trees, poetic justice.
Yeah.
Stuff that I can't stand to listen to. And I love that record for its deep cuts, its skits. Like, The Art of Peer Pressure is, like, top 3 Kendrick song for me. I love the bonus tracks, Compton, Black Boy Fly.
The Recipe.
The Recipe's a great track. To me, like, as a cohesive project, To Pimp a Butterfly is, like, it's timeless and unique. It will stand the test of time. It feels so focused and natural. Like, we were talking earlier, like, there's so much shit that got scrapped that we probably didn't even get to listen to, and we got some of it on Untitled Unmastered.
Which was also very good.
Most underrated Kendrick project, in my opinion. I think it's better than Section 80. It's better than Damn. And it literally is not even considered a true album. It's a compilation record.
It's really good.
But it uses instrumentation because it's like demo tapes from the To Pimp a Butterfly sessions. To me, with this record, it reminds me of maybe that cultural impact of To Pimp a Butterfly, where it was like a departure for like an up-and-coming artist that had already cemented his way. This is that now. Kendrick and his later part of his career, this is his last Top Dog Entertainment record. He's probably going to release everything else under PG Lang, and he probably will go into, you know, more business ventures and do music less and produce more and, you know, all that bullshit. Dr. J route.
I think you're right.
But this record, I don't think instrumentally it's as timeless and cohesive as To Pimp a Butterfly, but I think it's better than Damn, and I think it's better than probably Good Kid, Mad City instrumentally, and I think it's probably on par with like Section 80 and To Pimp a Butterfly's instrumentation, where it kind of feels like unique and is not as overused and modern.
It is its own thing. I don't think it'll be as timeless as T-Pab.
No.
Because that record is jazzy, and I know I told you this the other day, but jazz doesn't go out of style. It is what it is, and it will remain cool forever.
Jazz is the best.
But I do think that Mr. Morale will age more gracefully, and I think that the overall opinion from fans and stuff will become more warm as time goes on.
I know a lot of people like have kind of hated on this record. I mean, I've talked to people that have hated on this record, and like this record's been out for what, less than a week? Like 5 days?
3 or 4, maybe.
Really? Has it only been that long? Anyway, we'll get to it. But I think the use of the piano, like littered throughout the record, is the knot that kind of ties everything together, the thread that like sews the fabric. There are spots where it does kind of lose its tastefulness. Songs like Die Hard and Savior, Rich Spirit even, songs like that where I feel like they're a little bit too poppy, or I don't know. It reminds me of Rihanna on Damn, like Love, and
yeah, they do lose their flavor. I feel like they also don't contribute to like the overall overarching message that the record is trying to get across. You mentioned that Kendrick has this like mythos about him. He's like this legendary artist. And I think that is true, but I think this record is kind of dismantling that view of him.
And we'll get into it because he, as an artist, he does that vulnerable shit. We drew comparisons earlier off the air prior to getting on the mics here, but he talked about on Scorpion where Drake had the opportunity to rap about his son for the first time, and it felt so unimportant. You said he had his opportunity and to capitalize on that song to like really get into some deep shit. Like it was just hotline bling about your son.
It felt like public relations, like cleanup. Like he had to address this big thing, especially after like Pusha T is the one that revealed it to the world.
Exactly.
Kendrick is so different in that he would tackle that subject head on, and he would get on to like his mindset at the time and how he feels now and like opinion of people around him.
That's what's important to me. Like we were listening to Heart Part 4 unironically, knowing that we didn't even know that the Heart Part 5 was going to come out, but 2 weeks ago, last Tuesday, we listened to the Heart Part 4, and we were just like, he just keeps going and going and going. When other artists would consider that a highlight of their career, it's like, this is a track that a dude scrapped from any record. It's a single. It's like this kind of like something that isn't always super apparent to the public or like casual fans that this is something that exists. It's like, this guy's going hard as fuck over the craziest, weirdest, psychedelic instrumental you've heard. The guy's just throwing it out to the wind for real Kendrick fans to listen to, I guess. But I don't want to turn the podcast into just like a big Kendrick suck off. But do you understand?
It's not hard to do.
Do you understand? Like when you're in the presence of greatness, you fucking bow to the feet of the king, bro. You said it a few months back. It's weird living in a time where when you see like legendary status and performance in front of you, it's like Jordan in his prime, seeing the Beatles step off the plane into America for the first time.
We were watching a once in a lifetime generational talent.
Michael Jackson or Elvis Presley, the kings of a certain era. I think you could say like Kendrick will be talked about in the way we speak about Kanye. Like, regardless of Kanye's performance as an artist, like, he's cemented himself in pop culture for other reasons and yada, yada, yada. And to me, that's, like, really crazy to witness. Like, the day the man stops making music is the day that a part of my soul dies. Like,
yeah. Like, God damn, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, we won't talk about it, but it's something that I'd be happy to show my kids. Like, if my 5-year-old starts saying, this dick ain't free, like, if my 5-year-old starts saying that, I'll be a happy father.
If you want to get into, like, how I feel about this new record, I think I can say it by this. The highs aren't as high as the best tracks from Damn, but the lows aren't nearly as low as that record.
To you, what are like the high moments then that don't really achieve that?
On this album?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, Father Time is probably a top 10 Kendrick track of all time. But some of the other highlights, like United in Grief or a Mother I Sober type track, I don't think are as high as those best tracks from Damn, where I'm getting like a Fear or a Duckworth.
I love Duckworth. That's like my favorite track from Damn.
I do think that this record is able to tie its like thematic elements together a little bit better, where like on Damn, it was a little clunky.
Part of me, I will speak, I come from a place of ignorance where I don't think I can appreciate Damn and what it was supposed to be. There's more research I need to do. I know that there are certain ways an album are supposed to be listened to. Someone could give you a statement about the record and say, I want you to listen to it in this context, and it would help you tie things better together. I give Damn a really hard time, but I think my perspective changed a lot on that record, where if I come to it now, I'm not as interested. I do think Kendrick brought a certain energy to certain spots on that record, but the lows of that record, as you're speaking, like, oh my goodness, I can't fucking stand it.
Loyalty, God.
I get tired of hearing DNA and Humble. Like, if I hear those songs today, like, that's immediate skip for me.
I think DNA is a really good track. Humble is clunky and awkward and kind of like a directional misstep. That was the first single from that record, too.
It reminds me of Push That Shit like that song on this record. Yeah, I'm a hard pass on stuff like that. And I know, and I think I've gotten better of recognizing like these radio hit grabs on records. I'm sure even the artists themselves that recorded them are like, God, this shit's such sellout material. And like we've talked about it before, but All Right and King Kunta from To Pimp a Butterfly, those are like those de facto singles from that record. To me, they feel so much more tasteful, and they feel like they are more cohesive to the project.
I feel like those songs are barely even marketable.
Exactly. But they're the most popular songs from that record. But they're not the most popular Kendrick songs either. That's why it's this dichotomy that we're in. It's you can what the fuck? It's the opposite of have your cake and eat it too. It's like you can have your cake, but it's not that tasty.
I don't think that there is an obvious radio grab on this new album. And I know you mentioned that whatever you just reiterated, is that from Silent Hill?
I believe so.
That track, I mean, it could be a popular single. And as of right now, it's not a single. Maybe it will be. I know the first single from this record is N95.
And that's one of those songs that reminds me of like Damn or Humble, but it's better.
It
like
is.
It's got that same hype banger energy, but it actually covers a deeper subject, like you take off your jewelry and your clothes and your cars and you're like an ugly fucking person, which is great.
And I think like even on this track, he makes it less mainstream by he's giving that Good Kid, Mad City type flow at the end, where he's like, his voice is cracking. He sounds like a teenager desperate to get his point across. And I don't see that as being this thing that'll be played on the radio. Now, maybe in today's landscape, there are weirder vocal inflections that can kind of get a pass. I mean, Baby Keem is like a big thing right now, and he's got that whiny baby voice.
I think it's like kind of silly if we do frame it in that vocabulary. I don't mean it like a radio single. I mean it like, listen, the vast majority of us living in the a first world country, we all have either A, Spotify, B, Apple Music, or C, Amazon Prime Music, or whatever the fuck. Like, we all have a streaming service. I'm just saying what's marketable in playlists, the top charts, what are the most repeated songs over and over again. It's these songs. Not necessarily like what's going to be played on fucking iHeartRadio or whatever the fuck. But you get what I'm saying. It's just stuff that's more mainstream and popular and stuff that you can just throw on without really thinking about it. It is that track, but if you listen to the lyrics, it's a little bit more dark and, you know, presently in the times we're living in, great commentary on influencers and people like showing off all their shit, and that's good. And I think it's good. It has like the similar of your lyrics and your tone are complete inverse. Like Today is the Greatest by Smashing Pumpkins. The song's about killing yourself, but it sounds like really fun.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think this album opens up on a really interesting note with the song United in Grief. It's a super experimental cut to start your record off with. I don't know, how do you feel about this track? Do you think this is like a highlight, or?
It's really surprising to me how many people that I've talked to that actually really love this track. I think this is like the second most popular track behind N95 right now for the record.
See, I find that kind of weird.
And exactly. I remember there's somebody we work with named Hayden, and he said he really liked this song. And this was like one of the last songs that I expected him to enjoy. I'm like, damn, that's like really interesting to me that this track that exactly is experimental. It's like a piano running while Kendrick basically, it's almost like delayed effect waterfall, him just rolling over these piano keys. Similar to the cadence he would have if you would try to rap over jazz. Like, it almost feels like he's integrated into the instrument in a way. I'm really surprised that it would receive like merit, and people that I would consider maybe that don't have such a developed taste in music. Not to shit on the dude or be disrespectful, but the guy likes Jack Harlow, and like, I get it. But also, like, I'm really surprised that, and like, that gives me hope for your soul inside your body, like that you like this song, you know?
I get why people would like it, because Kendrick undoubtedly goes dummy hard on this track. But when I listen to the instrumental, I'm getting flashbacks to like Yeezus or something, where you're getting these two ideas that seem super disconnected, and you're cramming them together even though they don't fit.
Unfortunately, it kind of reminds me of like Drake Forever era, where you're just getting like fucking basketball horns, like bow, 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 bow. Like this kind of like this hype. This is like part of your NBA warm-up playlist that you play, or like you and your boys are going to the park and you're about to play basketball. Like, dude.
Wait, you get this from United in Grief?
Oh, I'm talking about N95. I'm sorry.
On that song for sure.
Sorry.
You're all good. I was talking about United in Grief, but yeah, I got that same vibe too on that track.
It's not good that we're super drunk right now.
Yeah. Hey, we can cross wires. That's okay.
We're doing okay. We're all right.
N95 actually reminds me a lot of a Baby Keem song. And even Kendrick, his cadence on this track, I was talking to my brother about it, and he told me that at certain points in the song, he didn't know when it was Baby Keem or Kendrick. And I expressed that same sentiment.
they're on tour. They're about to release tickets for the tour. It's not a Kendrick Lamar tour. It's Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem. I find it really interesting, like how integrated he is, and because we just got like the full length Baby Keem record, and Kendrick's littered throughout some of the highlights on that record.
Yeah,
and he's kind of holding his hand a little bit and kind of like integrating into like this little bit of a more modern reach, like because Baby Keem reminds me quite a bit of a more tasteful like Uzi or Playboi Carti. Has like experimental instrumentals and all that, and like an idea can be a little bit more complex, but he kind of has like that same like pop party emo punk cadence, but just over like a little bit more complex instrumentals.
And that absolutely has to be attributed to Kendrick being his cousin.
Mm-hmm.
You know that Kendrick is probably in the writing room,
probably pushing him in a certain era, like
he's making decisions for him,
and that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like that new wave style of rap, but when someone is in that era of a certain style of instrumentation and cadence and what's kind of popping with the younger kids, they would say, young chaps, it's nice to stand out. Like, you don't want to blend into the rest of them. I think it's so funny how much shit you forget, and then when you hear it again, you can't believe you forgot about it. And also, you don't ever want to return to that part of your life ever again because that song reminds you of just cringe. Do y'all remember the Party Knockers, or Party Rock, whatever the fuck that
LMFAO?
LMFAO. Like, go back to that. What kind of decisions were you making? How much cocaine were you doing at the time? I don't want to go there.
I kind of want to talk about the track Worldwide Steppers. I feel like in conversations that I've had with other people about this track, they often seem to say that this is one of the weaker ones.
Is this the one that's, I'm a bitch, you're a bitch, she's a bitch.
I'm a killer, you're a killer, she's a killer.
Close enough.
I'm a bitch.
You was a bitch.
This is like one of the top tracks on the record for me.
I think that's very Alex Getter of you.
You think
this
so?
Sounds like some. You like the song Nemo by JPEG Mafia, and I fucking hate that track.
That one's not so bad.
That is a great spot to like shoehorn in a track that like isn't super strong as far as like public reception, but is like instrumental and has a different flow.
I feel like this is the one where he starts coming in with the really more heavy-handed lyrics. I feel like you're starting to get that look into his psyche at the time. It does help that I think the beat is one of the most interesting things on the record, where it's just this like pummeling, bum, 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 bum. And you're getting these like splashes of piano over on top of that are beautiful, but like the overlying foundation of the track is like so anxiety ridden. Mm-hmm. And I think I really
it doesn't divert from that either. Like it's
never.
Bum. It's constant.
Except for that one rare 10-second clip where
that's super strange.
All of a sudden you're like in a Wu-Tang track.
Uh-huh.
And like that part's really sick too. But I think I'm really liking the lines about where he's talking about the first time I fucked a white bitch. Mm-hmm. He's talking about I might be racist. Fucking these white women is like my form of retaliation. Mm-hmm. You're getting those first looks into like Kendrick's sex addiction, which is like a thing I didn't even know was a thing yet.
And this is something I wanted to bring up on the air. We talked about Untitled Unmastered earlier. I think the most obvious maybe display of that mentality would be like on Lust, on Damn. That song's super uncomfortable. The opening track of Untitled Unmastered number 1, it's literally a dude going, "Oh, baby, put it back on, daddy." And it's like so uncomfortable. Or on Untitled number 4, it's head is the answer. Like fucking getting head, like getting blown is like the answer to all of our problems. Or,
well, hold on here.
It is, but
yeah, you're absolutely correct. But I've always interpreted that line as head referring to like knowledge.
No.
You don't think so? I've always thought there's like a deeper interlaying meaning to
like
that.
Deep throating meaning?
Hey, fuck you.
But no, you think head is the answer, bro. Head is the future. Getting blown.
They're both equally as important. Okay.
I agree.
It's weird that he's been giving us these hints throughout his career that he has this problem, and only now is he comfortable
Being
with
like-
relaying that to the audience. And not only is he like introducing that topic on this record, he is going so deep into how it affects his life and his marriage.
You're scaring me. Fuck.
In only the way that Kendrick can.
He really is. It's so personal. It's like scary how open he's willing to be. And I respect it so much.
And we haven't really talked about it.
No.
But this record is a therapy session.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of get the vibe that there's also some like weird school-like play elements in here with these like kind of cheap piano sounds that introduce tracks and these choirs and like tap dancing on like a wooden stage. I get this weird high school productions play thing in the form of a therapy session.
Oh my God. That makes so much sense considering like the album cover.
Yeah.
Like in the album cover, it's like Kendrick, his wife, and his 2 kids. Kendrick, there's like holes in the wall that have been plastered over, and him with a crown of thorns and a gun in his back pocket. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into that as far as like the play stuff goes. But if you've ever like been to like a middle school play production or even a high school, like sometimes there's usually instead of like an orchestra in front of it's like the band director on the piano that leads. Okay, that makes sense. And yes, the tap dancing, that was always that was like one of the biggest confusions for me as far as like instrument tags, I guess you would put it. Like there are like these ad-lib tag moments where it comes to instrumentation where it could be the piano in this record or what is it in To Pimp a Butterfly? It's the
poem reading.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense to me because the tap dancing was very odd.
I mean, the record's called Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. The Steppers element is that tap dancing sound that you're hearing. And I feel like the Steppers thing kind of represents something. I've heard that disc 1 is the Steppers half of the record.
And the back half is Mr. Morale?
Yeah. And disc 2 does kind of take the moral high ground where he is like tackling subjects with a more mature viewpoint and like it's him. I've seen that disc 2 is like the breakthrough in this therapy session, and disc 1 is like his rejection and like his old viewpoints.
You're breaking my world apart.
Yeah, this I was having a hard time digesting what the record was until I, of course, opened up the Rap Genius fucking website, and I was reading line by line, drawing mirrors between the 2 records. The last track on the record is called Mirror, and like him looking into the mirror. Disc 2 version is looking in the mirror and seeing disc 1, like what he once was, how he used to believe about these certain subjects. You know what I mean? I hope I'm not bringing too much speculation here.
Fuck. Doesn't help the state I'm in right now. This is like episode 1, The Terminator.
Yeah.
This is Terminator level drunk.
This is also us tackling a record from a very deep and insightful artist after only 4 days of preparation.
I think to me, we've already, I don't think we have talked about it too much, but like Father Time is probably like the biggest highlight for me. I love how fun this instrumental is, but then also this is like super heavy topic talking about daddy issues basically as a man and the roles that fathers play when it comes to like raising young boys. You know, you feel for Kendrick's father, but you also know that Kendrick's father is like somewhat toxic, but like some of the facts that he's stating are true. The bills don't feed no silver spoon. Kendrick couldn't believe that his father went back to work so soon after his grandmother died, you know, his father's mother, you know, telling a boy not to cry, yelling at the wife in front of the kids.
Him stating that everything his father wanted is what he wasn't. Yeah, this is like a really deep track, and I feel like this is one of the ones that will become the most popular as time goes on.
I love like the reverse sample flip. Like the sample is played in reverse. Really fun to hear Kendrick on something like that. I don't know if we ever really heard anything other than like maybe some of the tracks on Damn and the Heart Part 4 are like super dissonant and kind of wispy and airy and don't have like really a natural flow. I love this track. Also, it's got Sampha, sorry.
He's like a singer, songwriter, R&B artist that doesn't appear very often. I remember one of his tracks appeared on my Apple Music playlist for 1 week, and the song that it recommended to me was like amazing. It was so good. He's got this like wispy smokiness about his voice where it's like crackling.
That's a good way to put it.
His feature is like really done well on this track, and I feel like I need to give some appreciation to the production and like the beat usage on this one. It sounds like they revived Jay Dilla from the dead.
God, Jay Dilla, fucking donuts, dude.
It's like this keyboard riff that like kind of goes in and out of like the volume. Like it's got this warbly effect to it.
Kind of has like an abrupt stop when it transitions in and out.
Yeah. I think I texted you this during our like first impressions of the record, but I thought that this album was like an engineering marvel.
Yeah, we need to like pull up that text thread and start reading the crazy shit we said.
I think I just texted you, "Oh my god," in all caps multiple times.
Piss break. We got Die Hard and like Rich Interlude and Rich Spirit, right? Before we move to We Cry Together. Yeah, this is kind of like one of those trench areas where like I don't enjoy moving through, at least on disc 1. To me, these areas are like a little bit of a trench to dig through on disc 1 side. On disc 2, I feel like the lows of that side aren't as apparent compared to this one. Like, I don't know, Die Hard was just not my thing. It's too light, it's too out of place. Feels like something straight ripped from Damn.
I was getting the vibe that it was one of those like Kanye posse cuts where he just throws a bunch of people on one track and sees what happens. The guest vocalists are fine on this track. I mean, not even just fine. They're good. They sing well. It's catchy, but the beat is kind of bland. It like just goes in one ear and out the other. And you're right. It is a trench area. This record has been out for like 4 or 5 days, and I already find myself not
tired of it already.
I'm like just ready to skip over it immediately, and that's not a good sign. But if you move to the end of disc 1 and you skip over Rich Spirit, which is like the same as Die Hard, I don't want to listen to it. You do get the track We Cry Together.
This shit's insane.
It's so fucking insane.
It's like super uncomfortable. It's not something you want to listen to all the time, but goddamn, when you do listen to it, it does feel special. And I guess this would be a great track to tie into what you said earlier, like this play, like musical type of feel to it. Does this track open up with the tap dancing as well?
I don't think so. This is the one that opens up with like the horn section and like the female vocals. I was getting like heavy Bon Iver vibes the first time I heard this. I think this track is brilliant, and the vocal interplay between Kendrick and Taylor Paige, who is not even a rapper, she's an actress.
Which is an excellent choice, by the way.
Yeah, and because she's an actress, she really is able to get that emotional connection across on the track. Her voice cracks, her inflection is on point throughout every single word that she says. This song displays a toxic relationship or a domestic dispute in such a realistic way that in the future, I don't think I can keep returning to it. I don't want to hear this song ever again. But it's brilliant.
I'm in the complete opposite camp. I want to listen to it like all the time.
Really?
Yeah, I like to revel in pain.
God, dude, I think some of the parts where they devolve into this argument so much where they're just saying, fuck you, bitch, fuck you. And it's so overbearing. And I know that it's getting across this idea, and it's getting the idea across so well, but I don't want to return to this feeling. I have never been in a relationship like this. My marriage is not like this. And knowing that there are people out there that are like this makes me deeply uncomfortable.
I think it's interesting, too, like the way the track ends itself. It literally ends in them being like immediately like, I want to fuck.
God.
Yeah, dude, it's such a thing.
I know people that are capable of being like this.
To me, like, I think it's really fun that an artist can even do that and like put it on an album. Just the thought behind it being like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it.
I think Taylor Paige overshadows Kendrick on this track.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
She sells it better than him.
We also get like, what is it? Purple Hearts with Ghostface Killah.
I think this is a weird track. I don't know if I think it's good or not. I think the only reason that I sit through it is so I can get to that Ghostface Killah feature at the end.
It kind of reminds me, his energy that he brings is very similar to Rick Ross on Devil in a New Dress, where it's just like, you got a song, and now I'm going to cap it off with like some
best
sort of
feature ever.
legendary feature that just goes hard as fuck. That's like the best part of the song. Kind of has like that presence Rick Ross would have, where it's just like, I'm here, motherfuckers, and I'm going to tell you why I'm awesome while I'm yelling in your ears. And it's just like, okay, like I get it.
And it helps that Ghostface Killah has one of the best rap voices. It's so raspy.
It's dirty.
I think the song before he comes in is like this filler time where I'm not as intrigued or interested in what's going on. The song's fine. Shut the fuck up when love's talking about like substance abuse. And I know like the title of the track, Purple Hearts, of course, is like a reference to a medal that you get in the military for being injured or killed in battle. And I know there has to be some tie-in between like black trauma, or I know there's something here about that, but the song doesn't sell me on that idea entirely.
Makes sense.
The instrumental is kind of like 2012 cloud rap, where it comes in with like the 4/4, like ding, ding. It feels like straight out of that era. I don't know. It's an okay song.
Yeah, it's fun to listen to the Ghostface Killah part. That's about it.
Hopping back into disc 2, for some reason I find myself kind of rejecting this side of the album. I don't know why. I think that there are highlights on this one, and I think one of the best tracks on the record is on disc 2. But there's something awkward about the way this side of the album is displayed. I think Count Me Out is a good beginning to disc 2. Do you like this track?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like a little bit more of a modern flow, like Baby Keem influenced quite a bit. I mean, real talk, there really isn't a whole lot I want to say about it. It kind of just feels like Kendrick says, I love when you count me out, like 100 times, and I'm pretty sure he does like 30 or something like that. Like half of the song is him just saying that.
I think this is one of those rare tracks where Kendrick feels derivative of an other artist. I'm getting like these like Life of Pablo vibes from Kanye on this one, where you're getting this mix of like this great gospel choir in the beginning, but then you're going super bassy on the second half of the track.
Oh my God. And that choir really does. It does sound like something straight ripped from Life of Pablo.
Straight up. Maybe better than what Life of Pablo did. The production on this record is like fantastic. And
you didn't like that she bleached your asshole line, bro?
You know what? I kind of do. I kind of do like that line.
That's such a terrible song. I'm sorry.
It's a terrible song that I enjoy listening to a whole lot. But it is kind of weird seeing Kendrick feel like he's copying someone other than like paving this new road for himself. It's a good track, but it's not
album context worthy.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Honestly, the album being a double album kind of makes it feel a little bit more of a compilation record at times when it comes to like tracks like this, or things that kind of feel a little bit more like mixtape kind of feel, stuff that like you can kind of put on a separate disc. Like I would love to see this album itself, like some of our more serious cuts, like United in Grief, and even in 95 would be fine. Father Time, or like you probably could real talk like cut Purple Hearts, throw in We Cry Together, and then move into stuff like Crown and like Mr. Morale and the last two tracks.
Yeah.
Where, you know what I mean? Like I feel like it could be cut down in that if you wanted to shoot for something like To Pimp a Butterfly.
More concise. It didn't have to be a double album. I get what he's going for thematically, but it didn't have to be that.
Part of that comes with the territory of albums are weird, and they like kind of take on like this weird life of their own once they're out. People will read into the record more and more, and if there is like this double album, like mirrored reflection type of approach, it isn't like super apparent on that first listen, and it might be something that we appreciate more over time. But some of the tracks are weaker than others, and so the songs you don't care about, you may not even want to give them the energy to think about, oh, what's their inverse on this other half of the record, or stuff like that, where it just doesn't feel as deep as important as stuff that is littered throughout the record. I think To Pimp a Butterfly, it probably has its moments too. Like, I don't want to listen to All Right or King Kunta like ever again. Like I can skip them every time and be fine with that. I can get
Damn, I could listen to All Right anytime.
Really?
I think that track is like fantastic. King Kunta,
But my favorite moments on that record is literally like the opening track of Wesley's Theory,
For Free, Hood Politics, like
You.
how much a dollar costs.
You Ain't Gotta Lie, Blacker the Berry.
God, that record has so many
God damn.
highlights.
We were just covering the tip of the iceberg there.
We could just like sit here and name every track on the record.
To me, like this record kind of has like its low moments. It feels like real talk. It feels like a blending of Damn into Pimp a Butterfly. If you kind of lay it out instrumentally, it has like its moments where it like really leans heavy into like this piano influence, and that being like the base of the majority of the songs that are like the deepest and the most thematically impactful. And then you have instrumentation that could be damn bangers, DNA, Humble, stuff that's more modern feeling, and again references to Kanye or stuff that could feel like straight up Drake instrumentals for any of his records ever. When you hear that stuff, they're fun if you kind of pick them out, single tracks by themselves, but like in the context of a record album listening experience, sometimes they can kind of feel like work.
Yeah.
Because they require less work out of the listener.
If you want to talk about tracks feeling like work, let's move into Crown.
Not a big fan?
Not a big fan of this track, man. I remember when we were listening to it at the same time during the night that it was released, I texted you and said, we've wandered into 2000's Juno soundtrack, and I can't shake the feeling that this track is like kind of unneeded. I get what it's going for.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Yeah.
That's its point, but yes.
I can't please everybody. Like, this is one of those tracks where Kendrick's savior complex is like coming into view, and I understand where he's coming from. I empathize with like him as a human being, what he's trying to say, but the song is not one I want to hear.
I think instrumentally it does tie back better into the piano theme and a little bit more of like this run-on tagline stuff that could be attributed and influenced by like the running on of the same piano chord over and over again that we get like earlier on, like with United in Grief, and you get my point. But
Yeah.
God, my mental capacity is lessening as the night goes on. But you know, it just feels it's not necessary. It definitely could be like a cut track, in my opinion.
At the very least, you could cut like 1.5 minutes off of it and make it like this brief interlude. Maybe this could be the interlude for this side of the disc.
I hate Silent Hill.
You hate Silent Hill?
I hate that song so much because it's the next track and I hate it.
I think it's fine.
I don't like it.
It's fine, and that's it.
Let's just skip over it. I'm not a huge fan. I don't like Kendrick's flow on it. I don't like the lean into it feels super immature for him. Yeah, I'm good. I'll pass.
The instrumental is kind of bland. It feels like it could have been produced by anybody and rapped over anybody, or rapped over by anybody.
The bass almost feels like blown out car speakers. Like,
I think that there's a memeable quality about the track. I mean, pushing these bitches on me like, like
brother. Is this the song that says brother when he starts saying brother?
it might. Yeah, I don't know, man. The more I'm talking about this record, like, I'm having a lesser opinion of it. Like, talking about these side tracks that I'm not going to return to a whole lot.
It's really funny because I think it's something that the podcast does to certain things. We go into something loving it, and we might come out on the other end like a little bit more critical.
Because I do appreciate the thematic qualities of the record and where he's going. And when he does go into depth of these topics, it's really great. But these side tracks, they feel like filler, where we're just filling time till the next great idea comes up. And that bugs me a lot, because that doesn't feel like something Kendrick would do necessarily.
I mean, I can understand. And I think it feels like a little bit of a waste of time for him. But listen, like an artist is an artist. You never know where they're going to be at in a certain situation in their life and the mind state that they're in when they record a track. Or, I don't know, maybe Kendrick's having fun on certain tracks and less much about like delivering some crazy...
Yeah, and this goes into the theme of the record. Us sitting here criticizing it and stuff. The whole album is about we shouldn't look up to him as this like godlike figure, and he's not our savior. and it's depicted on the album cover. We've kind of already talked about this, but he's wearing this crown that he put upon himself by choosing to become this socially conscious rapper. But now he's in like the older stages of his life, and he just wants to be a family man. He just wants to live his life.
You just shine so much light on that.
You think so?
Damn, I didn't really think about it like that. You're so smart.
He's got the gun in his waistband, and it's like him
over the shoulder, almost protective.
Yeah. He's like trying to protect his family from this like status that he has. And he's breaking down that status by going over his infidelities to his wife. It's really hard hearing him talk about stuff like that because we thought he's like this strong character. Like he's the one that's going to lead people into this next era of social change. And he's this guy that like can't help but like fuck around on his marriage. You know what I mean? God, it's heavy, dude.
Damn.
We don't have to go into too much detail about the last couple of tracks. I think maybe Mother I Sober is the only other one worth dissecting.
I think I really like Mr. Morale and Mother I Sober is great. Those are probably like the last two tracks I want to talk about. Mr. Morale sounds like Good Time soundtrack. Like the beat production is so like Vice City. It's super fun.
Pharrell did a great job on this track. It's like this anxiety-ridden mess. And it sucks that we're doing this like as a bonus episode in a way. I know we wanted to tackle this like as soon as it came out, but we haven't dissected these songs to that level. You're sitting across from me right now looking like you're about to drop dead.
Yeah, your boy's really tired, I'm not going to lie. Non-sober mindset, so.
That's okay, man. The one track I want to talk about before we leave this conversation off is the track Mother I Sober, with him going into this like family trauma, talking about this story of some family member that may or may not have molested somebody. Kendrick was questioned whether he was assaulted himself, and he wasn't, but nobody believed him. And like there's like this ingrained trauma that he has about like being questioned about it even. I think that he tackles that subject matter with like such a great amount of gravitas or like
It's got grace.
Yeah.
He steps over it really well. Also, it's got Beth Simmons, which you're more familiar with her than I am.
She's the singer from the band Portishead, who like haven't been active in a long time, but it's cool to see her appear here. Does a great job on the chorus. It's more of like an understated track.
The track's so heavy.
Yeah, oh yeah. Emotionally it is.
Kendrick sounds like his voice is about to give out. Talking like this. It's very intimate. The piano is like very beautiful and stripped down. It's a great fucking track. It is nice when an artist goes so deep and shows you such a side of themselves that they could keep hidden forever from anyone, let alone the public. I respect it a lot.
I feel like if we move into that final track, I kind of express my sentiment over text message, the track Mirror, where it just feels like the end credits song, like your climax was the track Mother I Sober, and then this final track is just kind of like, all right, see you guys.
It reminds me of Mortal Man.
Yeah, that track was more deep than this one, though. It makes me think of the track Real off of Good Kid, Mad City.
I hate that song so much.
So do I. This feels like a reflection on that track. Maybe done a little bit better, a little less corny. Piss break. I know it's early in the release schedule of this record. It's only been out for a few days, but this is only like a bonus episode where we're tackling this thing that we haven't fully digested yet. If you were to give it a rating as of right now, how are you feeling?
I did come into it like ready to give it an 8, but now that we kind of peeled back layers on some of the tracks we don't like as much, right now my standing is at a 7, but it's better than Damn, and I don't know. I don't know how this record's going to hold up after 2 to 3 years. I just don't know yet, but right now I enjoy it a lot more than I did Damn. Maybe the public sentiment of it's not Kendrick's best record or it's not going to age well or like not everybody liked it will add to the enjoyment factor for me, or like I go into it knowing that not everybody likes it and maybe that's why I'll like it more. I know Damn is like well received by a lot of people and like it's easy for casual listeners to get behind, but I think a 7's probably fair right now. like a 7.5 maybe. Like it was an 8 walking into this podcast. Maybe it has more room to grow on me, or maybe it will grow on me less, or it'll stagnate and it won't be as fun as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Or it could have the opposite effect where I appreciate it more as we go on. Like maybe it has a To Pimp a Butterfly effect where every time I listen to it, I get more enjoyment out of it rather than the inverse.
This is a really tough record to rate. And I understand a 7 out of 10, but I feel like we're rating it on like a Kendrick specialty scale where a Kendrick 7 is not the same as the 7 from another rapper or another artist. This is just built on these unrealistic expectations that I have as him, of him as an artist. I'd go like a 7.5. I think some of the weaker tracks kind of like go in one ear and out the other, but the ones that are like good are among the peaks of his career right now. I don't know if this is the record that you'll return to very often. Feels like a record that is a once in a blue moon kind of thing, where I can jump into Good Kid, Mad City or T-Pab and feel at home. This record makes me uncomfortable. Yeah,
This is a great record. Give me like another month and I'll let you know for sure. And I'm sure we'll talk about it on like podcasts. Like
for sure.
Later. Be like, hey, my opinion changed. Here's an update. Until then, it was fun. It's been a good time finally listening to Kendrick again after so long. But we came at it fair. We'll see how time treats the record. It's only been like less than a week, so we'll see how our opinions change, how other people's opinions change. But again, until then, the next time you see us, that's it from me. Getter, could you do me the pleasure?
Adios.